Most of what we work on is self-sufficiency, moving people towards self-sufficiency. And generally speaking, you know, we try to advocate for people, whether we're the ones to provide the services or we need to refer to other people to do the services. We try to advocate for them anyway. And so when the person comes in the door and we don't have a program that they don't think we can attach to, generally that's where I try and get involved and see if there's things we can do. So much of what happens to people that are down on their luck is a case where, like a person has a shut-off notice. This is something that the Crossroads helped us with. They would come to us and they would call Dial-A-Ride, and they'd wait an hour for Dial-A-Ride to come, and then they'd come into us, and then they'd come in, and then they would find out that we can't help anybody with that until they've gone to the Department of Human Services. So they'll call Dial-A-Ride again, they'll wait another hour, they'll go down to Dial-A-Ride and down to Department of Human Services and find out that they only take applications in the morning. And so they'll go home and have wasted a whole day and then have to start it all again the next day. And oftentimes, if there's somebody advocating, calling down there and saying, hey, set an appointment for this person, you know, they've spent a day, that's really meaningful. Oh, I think the economy in Michigan is in really tough shape, and the people at the bottom of the economy are struggling the most. Shut-off notices are real bad this year. We helped 42 people this year. Of those 42, only 9 haven't worked. And there's this assumption that these people aren't working. It's not the case. They're working and falling behind. And of the 42 people we saw this time, only 6 did we see last year. And so this is a new group of people that are running into trouble. We're in a situation too where we have certain guidelines. You know, Crossroads partners with us, and I just want to take the opportunity for the community and Community Action Agency to take and thank the commitment of Crossroads Church and the money they gave us for shut-off notices. You know, there's a lot of people that are thrown into crisis that don't fit these public dollars. I can give you an example of the Lighthouse Inn, you know, which is a shelter that's closing. So it displaced a mom and her 2 kids, and LEAC, Lenawee Emergency and Affordable Housing, found her a house, but because the gas bill that was in the name of an abusive spouse hadn't been satisfied, they couldn't move in. They couldn't get their gas turned on. And there's no public funding that could help them. And because of Community Action Agency, that family's living in a nice new apartment because we were able to solve that past bill. That's a good example of some of the things we're seeing. Water. We had a family that did everything they could. They know how important the gas and electric was. They didn't want to get shut off in the winter, so they made sure to pay those. But in lieu of that, they couldn't pay their water bill. We have no public funding for water. And because of Crossroads Church, we were able to help that. Another person has a shut-off notice with water, and we wouldn't even talk to them. We would have just said, we can't help, we don't have any money. But because we had the Crossroads money, we came in, we find out they had a $1,200 water bill. They had a broken pipe in the basement that leaked and they never knew it. And when they got their bill, it was $1,200. And we wouldn't even talk to them, but because we talked to them, we ended up calling the city and saying, hey, you know, and the city forgave almost all that. Had a woman that couldn't find work anywhere around, finally got a job in Toledo, and she was behind on her gas bill, and she couldn't take time off from work, she just started. And Department of Human Services won't stay open after 5 o'clock. Crossroads Church paid her heat bill so that they were able to stay in there. It's huge. It's huge. You know, it's a question of being able to survive, or, I mean, once the heat is shut off in weather like this, you're homeless. For all practical purposes, you couldn't stay there. You have to look for something else. Quite often, the only alternative is the Share the Warmth program, where, you know, you get a cot, you know, over at Salvation Army, and you can stay overnight, and they'll give you a breakfast at Daily Bread in the morning, and then you're on the road. I don't know. What do? You go to the library for heat. And if it's kids involved, if you go to Department of Human Services to try and get help there, you could be jeopardizing a situation where your kids would be taken away because you're not providing for them anymore. Those are the kind of things that are happening, that we're seeing. People, not people that don't want to work, not people that have been in the lifelong crisis situations, but people that have worked hard being put into crisis situations by layoffs and things that are going on. Regular people think about poverty, and when you hear 100% of poverty, you think that if you're above 100% of poverty, then you're able to live. That's not the truth. What happened is they decided the poverty level way back, and it was 3 times what it cost you to feed a family. Well, nowadays, healthcare and transportation have inflated way faster than the other. But just recently, they considered Adrian a poverty-threatened city because of what's happening. Well, I'm the type that believes that, as you're serving other people, you're serving yourself as well. And I think that serving people with dignity is where it's at. And so I think it's very, very important. Hi, I'm Burt Fenby, the Lenawee County Director of Community Action Agency, and I'm pleased to have this chance to thank Crossroads Church for the commitment they've made to the less fortunate in Lenawee County.